No, it's actually good.
Okay.
The Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I have no... The Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Chargers.
Network we using the Melvin Gordon.
There
network.
we go. It could be. It could be.
Thanks for those giveaways, Mel.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw. After the Vikings go out to Los Angeles to beat the Chargers resoundingly on that soccer pitch. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers. But my beer's out of arm's reach. I'm in.
Come on, man.
Oh,
Hang on. Hold on.
we're going live and Ted's without his beard. There we go. Woohoo!
All right.
Hey, Ted.
I want to
All
welcome,
right.
first off, my compadres in crime and in football podcasts, Drew and Ted Glover, here for Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw one more time. How you guys doing, Drew?
Dude, I'm fired up. 7 turnovers? Bitch, please. Hey,
Ted.
Yeah.
Ted, give us the Charger drives after they went up 10-9.
Yeah. So hey, everybody. So right before we came on, I recapped the Chargers drives after they went up 10-9 on that touchdown. So after
Wait. Stop. Ted, how you doing today? We haven't started officially.
if I was any better, I'd be against the law. Let's light that down.
Okay, now hit us.
All right, so the Chargers go up 10-9. This is how every single Chargers drive ended after their lone touchdown. Interception, fumble touchdown, end of half. Fumble, punt, down, fumble, interception. You almost have to try to do that.
Dude, that is the worst drive chart I've heard of in 20 years. That is holy hell.
That was awesome. I mean, as a Vikings fan, that's awesome. If you're a Chargers fan, what do you do from here?
I don't even.
And I don't care. It's the Chargers. Who cares? They're done. Let's talk about it.
I guess you just chalk it up and say, well, it's one of those days. But did we not talk on GMG about how the Chargers do stupid things a lot? I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
talked about that in the fourth quarter, even though it was kind of decided by then. That's when it got really bad for them. But the Vikings did not hold the self-implosion torch today. That was all Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon, all of them. I don't even know. I think everybody in the Vikings got a turnover.
I think every starting 11, every guy in the starting 11 for the Vikings defense scored at least one turnover. It sure felt like it. Holy
Cameron
smokes.
got two.
It was
Jesus,
wonderful.
man.
It was wonderful. And, we started out a little rough, but we came on with a vengeance, and you got to love that. Especially going into the rest of the season, which we only have 2 games left. You got to love that. Now, going around the league. TTFW, for those that are not initiated, that team from Wisconsin.
Will they win?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes.
Fuck.
Chicago looked miserable. Now, of course, they won't in Week 17 against us, but they did today. Now, I haven't looked, but what's the final score on the Dallas Rams game?
It was 34-7 Cowboys in the fourth
Yeah.
Boo.
Talk about getting your tits licked out in Big D. That is kind of a shocking score.
Yeah, I fully expect to win that game.
Oh,
So-
I'm looking right now.
It's now
Whoa, Nelly!
3 minutes left.
15 Cowboys with 3 minutes left.
No, I got 3 minutes left, 44-15. Yes, that's right.
Oh, okay.
44-15?
Yeah.
Does that solidify a playoff spot for the Vikings or not?
No, they still either need to win one more game or have the Rams lose one more game
Okay.
in these last two. And the Rams go to San Francisco next Saturday night, I believe it is. So Sunday, the Vikings could take the field Sunday against the Packers with a playoff spot already secured, depending on what happens to the Rams Saturday night in no longer San Francisco, in Santa Clara, some 50 miles from San Francisco.
Right.
Yeah, I'm watching the end of that game right now. It's only 8 seconds left. Niners held on to beat the Falcons. But overall, that helped us out. I mean, not laying a big show down in L.A. today. I mean, the Rams put a little bit of distance there. It made me feel a little bit better. But we're not going to get the division now. Our only hope was that the Bears won today.
Yeah.
Because Blau and the Lions aren't beating the team from Wisconsin the last week of the season.
It would be sweet if they did, but it's unlikely. Very. So.
But we did help ourselves today by winning on the road. And who's ever closest with this trivia question? When is the last time the Vikings won on the road by 29 or more points?
You know, they mentioned it, and I can't. I heard it said on the TV. I can't remember. I didn't listen for the
pay attention.
Well, we beat Detroit 42-something.
By 29?
By 29 points or more, like today.
Well, I would have to look.
20.
That was 42-20? Okay.
I don't know.
1992.
Wow.
Really? That'd be Denny Green's first year. Seriously, that was his first year.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's a while back. We don't blow out a lot of teams, but on the road, we really don't. I mean, it's been 29 years, and I was going to ask you guys, do you guys have some kind of Alexa thing where you could ask when's the last time we had 7 turnovers in a game? I mean, honestly, do you remember when the last time it was? I can't.
I'm having a hard time. I don't know.
There was one game where we had a ton of turnovers like that, but I'm trying to remember. The people were talking about it on Twitter. But it's a long time ago. Now, before the game, I looked up, since this was outdoor on grass, I was trying to look for outdoor on grass stats. Didn't find them without having to delve deep into Football Outsiders.
The last time they won outdoors on grass on the road was at Philadelphia last year.
Was last year. Now, but I did look. They did have on a 2017 or 18 story had, since 1984, Mike Zimmer has won outdoors, not necessarily on grass, more than any other coach in Vikings history since '84.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember when?
But two of those years were, TCF Bank.
On grass. Remember when Tug McGraw was on his deathbed, and his son asked him, "Did you prefer grass or AstroTurf?" And he said, "I don't know. I never smoked AstroTurf." Sorry, I love Tug McGraw. I had to get that in there.
Hey, we've got our first comment of the day. Guess from who? No, it's from Miss Mary. She goes,
Mary.
"Way to go, Vikes. Great game." Thanks for watching with us, Mary. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we're live.
We are live. Live and in color, baby. Live and in color.
Yeah, did you find anything bad in that game? I mean,
the only thing early on, and it's nitpicky, but I think it could prove to be a big deal in the playoffs, which the Vikings are almost certain to get to now. Their opponent's not going to over 7 times in a game. I hope they do, but that's probably not realistic. I thought the Vikings defense, their inability to get off the field on 3rd and long situations in the first half was just frustrating.
Irritating.
And then the offense getting down into the red zone and settling for 4 field goals. Yeah, it turned out to be a 39-10 laugher, and that's great. But in a closer game, you can't squander all those opportunities to score a touchdown and just come away with 3 points. That's not going to be a recipe for success. So it's minor, and you really don't want to complain about a big win like this. But moving forward, that could become a big deal. They're going to need to shore those 2 areas on both sides of the ball up, I think.
Well, the other one I saw was turnovers. There was at least 2 fumbled snaps, and interception of the screenplay. And on the fumble snaps on the second one, they showed a camera view behind Cousins, and they're showing the hands, Cousins' hands, and the ball was snapped and hit his hands. He was the one that didn't close on the ball. And it was just, well, that's got to be eliminated. This was luckily the game that this happened because we had 7 turnovers by San Diego, and we came way out on the plus side of that. But that shit's got to stop.
Yeah, it was mildly concerning, but then the second half unfolded the way it did, and I really hate complaining about a 39-10 win. I mean, that was awesome.
Well, the other minor concern was Dalvin Cook. Now, he went out with that shoulder and it was hurting, but was that a different shoulder injury or the same? He landed on it wrong and aggravated the clavicle or wherever it is where it messes up with him right now.
He looked like he was holding his left shoulder coming off the field, and his previous injury was his right shoulder, I thought. So this is something to really watch.
Okay. Now, Boone did outstanding in relief.
Chargers. I want to give Boone full credit. Chargers gave up by the time he was in there. There's a couple of those guys he just ran by and they didn't even care. But his runs were very. He's a violent kind of runner. I mean, he runs. I like his style, and I think to come off the bench, hey man, we need you in there, and he comes in and just doesn't flop around. He's running the football, man. He's kicking ass.
Yeah.
So
he did very well in relief of Dalvin Cook.
Dave said Abdullah was going to get the call.
Well, he's next on the.
I said
depth chart,
no.
But they were smart.
Booner's getting in there.
Dave's Abdullah Oblongata got that one wrong.
He sure did. Now, speaking of Dave,
after he saw Mike run, it gave him a Booner though.
Speaking of Dave, we have the head of Climbing the Pocket Network, Jason Brown, commenting, "You boys aren't drunk enough." Well,
I got people over. I've been cooking food all day, man. I can't.
Well, and
you don't want me drunk.
And to tell Jason, yes, I am not drunk enough. I have not drank enough yet. I've had a few, but not enough. Mary also says, "This is sweet. So much fun to watch you guys live after a win." Well, Mary, it is fun to be live, especially after a win.
Yeah.
Going full Alan Page today, baby.
Nice.
Dude, Jaleel Johnson went full Ellen Page today.
You got some great jerseys, Drew. Hey, let me ask you guys something. So, Drew, you felt uneasy coming into this game.
I did. I did.
And Dave, I think you thought you were fairly confident heading into this game.
Right.
I was kind of on the fence. I kind of understood both sides of the argument. When the Vikings took that first drive, went down and scored, and then Dan Bailey missed that extra point, did you think, oh, this is going to be a big deal in the fourth quarter or not?
I was yelling at the TV, Dan, yeah, it takes skill to hit a bar that's this wide. Now, go for the big gap in the middle. It's one of those things that you start banging your head and going, what, is this going to be one of those days? But that was just a fluke.
I wasn't worried about the extra point. Where I was worried, Ted, was when it was 19-10. Then we got a turnover, and then we kicked another field goal, 22-10. Then we kicked another field goal, 25-10. And I look at Ruby, I go, these field goals are going to kick our ass at the end of this game, because that's really only 2 scores ahead.
Yeah,
right.
That's a touchdown, and then a touchdown to 2-pointer. And then the Chargers started driving the field, and I'm going, oh shit! There's still 7 minutes left in the third quarter. That's the only time I felt real uneasy, because you leave 16 points off the board right there in just that amount of time. It always seems to come back to haunt you, maybe just because we've watched a lot of football between us all. We've seen it happen so many times. But then I thought it was really strange when the Chargers got down there and they had a 3rd and 14 from the 15 and they went for it. I thought, that's what I wanted them to do, because I didn't think they were going to get it. They had the false start and it kicked them back, and I thought the Chargers made as many mistakes coaching today and play calling as they did turning the ball over.
When they failed to convert that 4th down in the Vikings red zone, and I think Minnesota ended up going down and scoring a touchdown. Yeah, that was the play. Yeah, that was Boone's touchdown off the big Diggs catch on that drive.
And it was kind of the dagger to the whole thing is we took over on downs at the 15, right?
Yep.
Very first play, 22-yard seam pass to Rudy. Yep. And I looked at the screen and I go, that's what you should have been calling down there when Gordon fumbled at the 8. You should have went play action over. Go for the jugular. Do it. I thought that was a brilliant call right there. The 22-yarder and then the long pass to Diggs when he got inside the 10.
Well, yeah, when the Vikings held there, I'm like, okay, I think the Vikings got this now. If they go down and score here, it's over. And that's exactly what they did. And we've talked about that before, about the Vikings going for the throat and getting the killer instinct. I mean, how many times in the past would you have seen? And I think a lot of it had to do with Dalvin Cook being hurt.
I think so too.
Zimmer couldn't really rely on Cook to run the ball and eat the clock. And so, because you really didn't know what you had with Boone at that point. They ran a couple times, and Boone finished that drive strong with that nice touchdown run. But the Vikings were very aggressive throwing the ball with that throw to Rudy, and then that 3rd and 14, that big play, that play action rollout where Cousins hit Diggs. And if he'd have been able to lead Diggs by a foot, Diggs would have walked into the end zone. But it was still a huge play.
It was.
But you know what, guys? That's the aggressiveness that Ted just mentioned. I want more of that. I don't want it to be so spotty. I want more of that aggressive play.
No.
When we took over the 15, Cousins snapped it. He went play action. If you remember that 22-yard pass to Rudy, I know you remember that play. Cousins took 3 steps, and he gunned the shit out of that ball. He knew where he was going with it. He looked confident as hell with it. Rudy looked confident grabbing it, and that play looked like they had talked about it on the sidelines. If we get the ball back, we're going play action. I thought it was a brilliant call because it gets you out of the hole. The old Vikings, maybe last year, would have been 3 and out and another punt. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the call of the game right there. I thought that was very well done.
And would have let the Chargers hang around, and then some fluky play would have happened, and the next thing you know, it's 25-17.
Right.
And the Vikings have been a lot more in key moments where last year they couldn't close the deal. This year, against the Lions, last week and the Broncos and that big comeback and now this game, they've been able to close the deal, and it's really refreshing to see. And I think a lot of it has to do with, Dave, you've given a lot of credit to Kevin Stefanski, and he called another really good game today, I think.
For the most part. There was a couple times when, we'd get a turnover and he'd run Cook up the middle, and I'm like, why are you running Cook up the middle? You need to go for a shot right then and there before the defense settles in.
I'd like to see a little bit more aggressiveness down in the red zone. I really
But overall, he did. Now, you talk about good catches, and Rudy had some today. But I thought the best one was Stephon Diggs on the sideline, where he grabbed that ball that was humming with one hand and then pulled it in as he was going out and got both toes to drag. That was sweet.
Macaulay would say, Mr. Hines, that was sweet. Dude, that was a great catch. Yes, I agree.
And special teams.
You threw the ball, and I catch the ball. Wouldn't it be our pass?
Special teams. Did Cole quit at an all punt? I got to look.
Yeah, he punted twice, I think. And both times were either at or inside the Chargers' 5.
Both were inside, and he averaged 51.5 yards, 2 punts inside the 20. That's awesome.
All right, Dave. I'll make him a blue chip. Dave, I'll make him a blue chip.
Thank you.
He's on pace. When one of my milestone posts during the week, he's on pace for the highest net average in a Viking season for a punter. He's having a great year, but we don't talk about it. The only time we remember the punters if he shanks one in Kansas City. See, we remember that.
Yeah, but his holding, obviously plays a part in the Bailey's success this year. And Bailey, even though he doinked that first extra point, has been very good.
4 for 4 on field goals.
Gordon just fumbled the 3 for the day. Did you see what Rivers said to him on the sideline? Did you mouth read that?
I missed that.
No.
sideline, and he looked over at Melvin Gordon. The camera was on him, and they actually played it after the commercial. He looked at him, and he goes, "That's horrible," and he just walked away.
Rivers said that to Gordon?
Right in his face. He goes, "That's horrible." And I thought, that's kind of cool that he does that, dude. I mean,
I hope after one of Phillips' 3 or 4 picks, Gordon walked over to him and went, "That's horrible, man. That's horrible."
Dude, that one for Harrison Smith? My God. That was
terrible.
Talked about Rivers, he'll do that instead of taking a sack. He'll force it up there, dude.
Right,
Yeah.
and he did. And Harrison, Hitman, had a fumble recovery and an interception for a good game. I mean, the whole Harrison had an interception, Harris had an interception, and Mike Hughes had an interception
Had
today.
an interception. Yep. But none of that tops Ifeadi Odenigbo.
That's
with
right.
The rumbling, bumbling touchdown, 56 yards.
Out of those Wildcats, the Northwestern Wildcat fans are going crazy right now.
Yeah.
Our boy from Northwestern.
You know, that was a big moment in the game for me because it came off the heels. The Vikings, got that Harrison Smith interception, and then Cousins tried to float that screen pass, I think, to Abdullah, that got picked off by the Chargers.
Right.
And I thought, oh man, this really feels like a big moment in the game. Like if the Chargers get points here, I'm kind of worried about how the second half could unfold. And then Danielle Hunter, who had a fantastic game again, by the way, he forced 2 fumbles.
He was
recovered
awesome.
A third fumble, and forced that fumble that I mean, I think Hendricks had it like 9 guys touch the ball before Odenigbo finally grabbed it and went 56 yards for the touchdown. That was that, and the partially blocked punt by Eric Wilson. I thought were 2 huge moments in the game.
Hunter
Had another additional sack.
I'm telling you, Ted Glover, I think I'm happier with Hunter than any other players in the whole Zimmer era. I think he's my number 1 dude. I think he's been our best draft pick. The guy's only getting better. He's a superstar. He rushes the passer well. He plays screens well. He's off the edge. He's good against the run. He's just fantastic.
Now, are you talking offense and defense or just defense?
I'm gonna have to say all around.
I can't argue that point. He's a phenomenal player.
Well, I mean you get Stephon Diggs, 5th rounder's done pretty damn good too. But no.
I know.
Danielle Hunter is on a trajectory to make the Hall of Fame and be the best defensive end, maybe versus Alan Page, that the Vikings have ever seen.
Page was a defensive tackle, man.
Come on, Ernie.
Well, hey, but
Eller.
Come on, man.
Eller,
Come on,
yeah, but
man.
he's good. Hey, I have been drinking. I may not be drunk yet, but I have been drinking.
No, he is. You could give the argument for Diggs, but Hunter is, man. He's my personal favorite draft pick that we've had over the. He just has come through, and I think 3rd rounder. I mean, come on, that's just a steal.
Yeah.
You know, the thing I remember on draft night or that draft when he was picked, because LSU, and I'd never heard of him, and I'm not much of a draft Nick. I'm not by any means a draft expert, but one thing I look at is stats, and I don't even think he had 10 career sacks.
No, I think he
was
had like
LSU.
2 or 3 or something absurdly small.
And I kept thinking, this really seems like a reach. And I remember, you know, I kind of followed the draft on Twitter and on Daily Norseman, and kind of the consensus was, what are the Vikings thinking? Well, they knew exactly what they were doing with Danielle Hunter, and that guy, that contract extension they signed him to, 2 years ago I think it was.
Yes.
Now looks like one of the best bargains in the NFL.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And will help when we go into next season and we're worried about cap money because we're already over the cap.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say whoever does the scouting for the Vikings defensive line is a little bit ahead of the guy who does the scouting for the offensive line.
A little bit.
We nail some defensive linemen, man. We get some good ones.
Oh, yeah, and we got the best defensive line coach in the business, Andre Patterson.
It was, and he was on a rotational basis, and the LSU had like 3 first-rounders that year. Mm-hmm. So they had a really good defensive line that year, and he wasn't even playing all 3 downs. But Ted's right. They've seen something, and he has just been.
And not only scouting, but player development on the defensive side of the ball just seems to be generally better than on the offensive side of the ball. I think the offense is starting to catch up. I think Garrett Bradbury is really coming along late in the year. I think he's playing pretty good football. I think Pat Elflein has played a lot better at left guard the last 4, 5, 6 games. Diggs, Dave mentioned Diggs before, but yeah, all in all, I think that the defense has done a better job at developing young players.
One real quick thing on Hunter. You know what he reminds me of, guys? And somebody told me this a long time ago. You can tell a good player not only by the plays he makes, but if he's in the screen on every play. And Hunter's always right there. If he's not making the tackle, he's forcing them. He's like Matt Blair or Chris Dolman. When Chris Dolman wasn't making the sack, he was right there. He was going to make the sack. Mm-hmm. Hunter is on every play. He's involved in it.
Dolman is a great comp to Danielle Hunter right now. Great comp.
Reminds me a lot of him. He's always involved in something. You rarely see Hunter just ran out of the play. He doesn't get run out of a lot of plays.
And he's fast off the edge, just like Dolman was too.
Right. That first step and his pursuit down on running backs
is lightning. And it could be lateral. It doesn't have to be up and down the field. It's lateral too.
I think send him a copy of this tape right here so we can get some money from him.
Now, I had stepped out, walked the dog, and I thought of a line of thinking. When we talk about the offense is starting to catch up, one of the default what are you laughing over? One of the
I thought of a line of thinking. Pow!
Wow. Hey, we haven't had one in a while.
I just laugh.
When we're thinking this is a first-year offense. This is the first time under Stefanski, first time under Kubiak. There was a built-in excuse that it takes a while for the first-year offense to get going. Well, folks, guess what? It's going. And it's going well, especially over the last half dozen plus games, minus Kansas City. Right? They have been doing well in being able to produce. And they aren't dealing with that, it's the first year excuse. And that in itself will look good as we go into just, the end of December and into January.
Yeah, I really like the way this offense has come together and gelled. And they're going to have to play this good because, with what happened up in Green Bay today, it looks like, the Vikings are going to be like seed. I haven't really looked at the 5 seed possibilities and how that works out. Chances are they're going to have to go on the road 3 different times to win in the playoffs and win 3 football games to get to the Super Bowl. And you're going to have an offense that can not only run the ball but be explosive. And the Vikings have really demonstrated that they can do that. And it's today was really encouraging too because last week was kind of a dud of a game and they still had some explosive plays. But after Dalvin Cook went out, you could see the Vikings sort of pick up the level of aggression, at least in terms of play calling and execution. Drew mentioned that great seam route to Rudy after the Chargers lost the ball on downs, and then the long pass to Diggs on 3rd and 14. I mean, how many times in the past on 3rd and 14 at midfield do you see the Vikings just do a short dump off screen pass and just play for field position and punt the ball? That do that today, and I feel they're going to have to keep that mentality moving forward as we head towards these last 2 games of the regular season and then hopefully the postseason.
It's well said. It's going to be a tough haul, guys. But you know what? I don't want to sit home again in the playoffs. That's bullshit. 8-7-1 irritated me for months. This team is a playoff team. They should have been last year, and they are going to be this year. I like the team spirit I saw. The moment I saw is after the Hunter Henry fumble. Did you see everybody dancing and jumping on the sidelines?
Yeah.
It was great.
It was awesome.
That's the kind of thing I like to see because I know. I mean, they even did it when Northwestern boy Nick was running down the sidelines in the first half was terrible. It was bad. And all it takes is one half of football against the Saints or a Niners or somebody, and you're done for we're on the other end of this thing. But
there was 3rd and long, and they'd give up that pass. beyond the
being
first
said,
down marker.
I agree with everything Ted just said, and I don't want to bring down the point. Just that those two things stick out to me. I'd like to see them be more aggressive. It's weird. They are aggressive at times, but then they just go completely away from it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way they like to do things or their plan of attack or something. But they can play with anybody, guys. They can.
Yeah, I firmly believe that too. They can. The only thing I worry about is once the playoffs come, Mike Zimmer kind of goes into his conservative shell and plays not to lose as opposed to playing to win. Today I think he played to win because it was the Chargers. They were already kind of up by 2 scores and he just kind of wanted to put the game out of reach. I hope mentality carries over to these next 2 weeks against Green Bay and Chicago and on into the postseason. Because if it does, and the Vikings can execute, they're going to be a tough out. They can play with anybody in the NFL.
Right.
They can.
We've got a Ted Bertrand says, talking about the defense. Gene said that the defense showed flashes of 69 when Marshall picked it off and lateraled to Page, who took it in such a savage joy. And yes, the defense played with that savage joy today. And if Mike Zimmer allows them to play that way and the offense executes, there's nobody in the NFC they can't beat, even in their house.
True. But it's still going to be 3 road games in the postseason.
You know, I see. There's also, if you want to hang on to the 69 thing for a second, there's also times Rivers went back to pass and Keenan Allen had a 32-yard cushion on him. It was an easy pass to the sidelines. Michael Thomas will have 25 of those against you if you let him do that.
Yeah.
The Vikings have to clean up their secondary, guys. I'm not gonna say it to try to damper this, but you know it as well as I do if you watch that game.
Well, obviously, Mike Hughes came in, but did anybody see Holton Hill?
Holton Hill stuck the shit out of somebody on a screen pass.
Yeah, he did.
I can't remember who it was. He knocked the shit out of him, though. But
3 solo tackles.
Hey, I was busy kind of doing a running game recap on DN. So when Xavier Rhodes went out,
DN, for those that you don't know, is Daily Norseman.
Oh yeah, the Daily Norseman. Your SB Nation home for the Minnesota Vikings coverage.
And Climbing the Pocket Network, which Good Morning Gallahorn resides.
But anyways, so when Rhodes got hurt in the second quarter, I saw him play a little bit at the beginning of the second half. Did he play most of the second half, or did they kind of pull him once the game got out of reach?
I think he was in there most of the second half.
Was he? Okay.
Well, obviously, Hughes got his interception in the second half, so I don't know about most of the second, but he played quite a bit.
But he played in the second half a lot.
He did. He came back.
Okay.
It's hard to judge. We won 39-10. I think we're a better team. But you add in the 7 turnovers, and you add the fact that every time the Chargers were taking the field, either offensively or defensively, they were shrugging their shoulders a little bit more.
They were.
So by the fourth quarter, look at the routes they were running. They were piss poor. And I don't think Rivers could either.
They couldn't wait to get off the field and go home.
Right.
But they were, and Ted had mentioned this earlier, this is what was pissing me off. The 3rd and 12, they converted. 3rd and 10, they converted. 3rd and 9, they convert. They were converting all these third downs.
Yeah.
But you notice in the second half, the Chargers weren't converting. The Chargers
they
gave
weren't.
up.
No, and Ted Bertrand says, for one brief shining moment, ripped their hearts out, flashes of 69 per 84. He said the energy picked up when Rhodes left the game. And I have to agree with that. And they played, that defense in the second half went for the jugular. They were having fun. And that's a good thing.
I think they were playing better, but the Chargers were also giving up. I mean, there's a balance there.
Yeah.
But one causes the other, cause and effect. Hey.
No, I'm not saying to take that away from the Vikings. I think they played considerably better in the second half. I think they were more intense. They were rallying to the football a lot better, and I think they were bumping up their coverage a little more. The pass rush was better. The tackling was it was great. They played a lot.
Yeah.
They did play a lot better in the second half, and the adjustments were made, and you play with the cards that are given to you, and the Vikings kicked the shit out of them. They took it. A lot of the bounces usually don't go our way when guys fumble. Right. Today they were bouncing right in our hands.
Every single one. They got every single bounce.
only saw one fumble that Eckler made that popped and went back up to him after he hit the ground. You know what? Hunter, I think, would have had, or Kendricks would have had that one. He was right there to take it. Or the one that Keenan Allen pushed out of bounds. That was going to be another turnover.
That was going to be, yeah.
So the Vikings, you can say the Chargers made a bunch of turnovers, but the defense causes those things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of defense that will take us long into the playoffs. You can have a suspect secondary and guys can pass on you. If you can cause turnovers, you can win. I mean, back in '87, we went to New Orleans and won that game. Then we went out to Candlestick and beat Montana. We were getting turnovers.
We were getting turnovers. Yes, we were.
Yep.
And I think we need to rely on that. We got 7 today, and we don't usually get a lot.
Well, getting 7 is unusual. But getting some is a good thing. With that, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Drew, have you got any last thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, it was fucking badass. No, I say that's a big meow meow Viking cow, and I think we're going home for the last 2. No more going on the road. Vikings took care of business today in a badass way, and if they can get their defense back on track, this was the game to do it. Turnovers can be contagious. Look what it did with the Bears last year. Mm-hmm. We could take 7, get another 4 next week. I'm feeling good right now about the Vikings.
Ted, you got any last words on this game?
Yeah, I thought it was a great win. Very good complimentary football. Vikings kind of struggled a little bit early, but defense rose up, offense capitalized. I like the way this team is playing right now. Don't let up. Carry it through the last 2 games. Go into the playoffs riding high with, a 4 or 5 game winning streak, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And let's – if they could do that, if they beat Green Bay and Chicago these last 2 games and go into the playoffs 12-4, yeah, it's 3 road games and yeah, it's a tough road, but let's roll. Let's play some football, boys.
At least we'll be on the road and not sitting at home.
That's right.
Hands.
Well, you talk about offense and defense showing up. So did the special teams. All 3 phases, baby, showed up today. Now,
here we go.
Here we go, baby. Here we go.
You're going to put on the Vikings head and go boom.
And a boom. Next week.
Santa Claus hat and it's boom.
Next week, as Ted Bertrand says, Unleash the Dogs of War, December 23rd. We are moving into our Christmas special. It also happens to be the preview against that team from Wisconsin on Monday night. We want you to join us as we give you a game preview and celebrate the season. And hopefully the Vikings will put that extra Christmas sparkle into your holidays with a win on Monday night.
I do have one more thing to say.
What's that?
You're a mean one.
But
it's 7 times. You threw the ball over the middle, and Harry picked it off, Mr. Grinch. We're coming for you, Aaron.
And remember, Purple Jesus is the reason for the season, baby. Let's go, Super Bowl, homeboy. See you in Miami.
Skol, everybody. Vikings win. Vikings win. Enjoy your victory week and enjoy the holidays, and we'll see you coming up for the Monday Nighter.
Oh, you guys make me crack up, dude.
Thanks for watching.
You guys bust me up.